Hey everybody, it's David Swor here again with DJ Cox for another episode of Frenemies, the post-Christmas edition. And it's good to see everybody. DJ, hope you had a good Christmas, buddy. Looks like you've been eating well. No, I'm just kidding. So I've got to ask you, DJ. So with all this Christmas food, did you use any white sauce?
Oh man, I used the white sauce a lot this Christmas season. I did. Ham sandwiches is kind of my go-to on lunch sometimes, so I always put it on the ham sandwich. So
Oh, nice.
good stuff, man, no doubt.
I've never tried it on the ham sandwich. But you guys out there definitely support Coach Hall and the white sauce. It's whitesauce.org, or you can get it on Facebook. And it's good on everything: turkey, ham, apparently, salads. So you can't beat the white sauce. So DJ, we just got to get into some breaking news right off the bat. Let's have a Cubs update. I got to tell our folks out there, this is the closest since college I've seen DJ to crying. So, DJ, why don't you just tell us what just happened here in the last hour with the Cubs?
Okay. Well, we just traded the Cy Young Award winner along with Victor Caratini. Don't you shake your head at me. Don't you shake your head at me. Cy Young Award winner, Victor Caratini, to the Padres for Zach Davies, who I'm okay with that, and 4 prospects to come in either 2023 or 2024. So, David, when we were getting ready for this podcast, I'd spent a lot of time going over rumors, and I spent a lot of time with the Padres because when they just traded for Blake Snell yesterday, it kept coming that they were going after Darvish really hard, and I believed it because the Padres are aggressive, and there's no doubt they're going for it now. And man, I'm a little shell shocked here still. Me and you were doing a little research here pre-show just to kind of wrap our heads around what just happened, because you can't just go into it on feeling. You got to actually look and see what's going on here. But this is tough, man. There's no doubt about it. I don't know what to say to the Cubs fans right now. I know my phone's kind of been lit up right now with a lot of my friends that are Cubs fans. It's kind of going crazy right now, saying 60 wins at best and
Oh, wow.
win, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here, but no doubt it's a shocker. It really is. I mean, even though we kind of heard the rumors here the last couple weeks, I was hoping, David, and I know you thought I was crazy all day when I was telling you about this, but Mackenzie Gore is a top pitching prospect in the game, and the Padres have him in their farm system. He's a left-handed 6'3" guy. I was hoping that they would get him. And if they were going to get rid of Caratini and Darvish, they would at least get him back in the package. They did not. So the Padres managed to keep the number 1 prospect in baseball as well. David, what's your thoughts on this trade, man?
Well, like we talked about off air, I think the Yankees and the Cubs are kind of in the same spot. You know, both of our cities are very tight with the coronavirus and the lockdown and all that. And so obviously with no fans, means lower revenue. I would bet behind the scenes the Cubs have been trying pretty hard to trade Chris Bryant and other guys on the roster and just can't do it. DJ, I have to wonder a little bit. Again, I'm a Yankees fan. Obviously, we've talked about that a lot. If they're not pulling a Yankees 2008 edition, I think it was 2008, when they had to let some guys go, kind of reset the lineup a little bit for a couple years down the road. Actually, it was later than 2008. But, you know, the Yankees traded guys like Aroldis Chapman, which brought back Gleyber Torres. They traded Andrew Miller, which brought back Clint Frazier. And so I wonder if a little bit of that's going on, if there's not more trades coming, which I know would be a really big kick in the pants. And this is kind of a double whammy for you, DJ, because now it appears that the Padres are the biggest challenger to the Dodgers, along with the Cubs kind of resetting. Now you look at that pitching staff and go, well, the Padres definitely got a better rotation. I'm going to throw that out there. Maybe not the top 2, but 1 through 5 they do. And they've got a lineup, one of the few that can match up with the Dodgers. Maybe not quite as good, but it's close. They don't have the bullpen, but the Padres are becoming a real threat. But from the Cubs standpoint, I don't get it. I would think you would have to walk out of there with one of their top prospects. Mackenzie Gore was never going to happen. But, again, they got a lot of scouts. The Cubs do. The 4 guys that they got, in a year or two might have been in the Padres' top 10 anyway. So it's crazy, man. It's been a crazy day with the Padres, a couple days, with the Padres getting Snell as well. They did give up a top 25 prospect for Snell. And so I just would have thought that the Cubs would have got one of those. It really surprised me that Caratini was included, but when off air I got to looking at his stats, DJ, he's 4 years in now. I keep thinking Caratini's like a rookie or second-year player. He's not. And so, is it really that big of a loss? I don't know. What do you think about losing Caratini?
I'm not upset about that, to be honest with you. If they're going to keep Contreras, that's cool, because Miguel Amaya is our top prospect. He's a catcher. So I see him coming pretty quick. If not next year, then the following year he'll be up for sure. So maybe they'll have a backup who's just kind of there for a year before Amaya gets up, and then they'll have 2 studs. So I'm okay with that. I really am. I don't like the fact that what we got back for him and I'm not really into that as much. I don't know how he pulled off AJ Presser, pulled off getting a starting catcher out of this too, because Caratini, as we looked at before the show too, he's better than any catcher the Padres have right now. So he's going to be their starting catcher. So they pulled off a number 1, 2, or 3 guy in their rotation and a starting catcher for, Zach Davies, who had an outstanding year last year. He's had really about 2 or 3 really good years in his career. And Cubs fans, he's 27. I know we're upset about losing but we got a young pitcher in return who's had a lot of success at the major league level. He's 50-36 in his career, David. That's not bad at all. It really isn't. With a 3.79 ERA, that's respectable as well. So he's no slouch, man. He's a good pitcher. He does not blow it by anybody, but he knows how to pitch. And we've seen guys like that come through Chicago, like Kyle Hendricks and Greg Maddux. And so he reminds me a lot of those 2 guys in the way he pitches. And I'm okay with that. He's going to be probably a number 3 for us when it's all said and done here. I'm still kind of rolling my head out as what these guys can do with the rotation. I still don't think they're done, like you were saying. There's got to be more moves to come. There's 3 40-man roster spots now open because we got rid of 2 guys on the 40-man and only got 1 back. And I believe there was 2 open as well before today. That might have been one of those might have been taken up, as we'll talk to in a little bit. But they've got more moves to come, man. And this is crazy. So of the guys that they got back besides Davies, there's 4 prospects. And me and David looked this up before the show. We got the Padres 11th, 13th, 15th, and 16th prospects in their system. 2 of which are shortstops and 2 of which are outfielders. The thing about all of them is one of them's on the track to make the majors in 2023, and the other 3 are 2024 guys. So they're down the line prospects. They're not like anything coming anytime soon. So we're not going to see the fruit of this trade for a long time, David, and that's tough too when you are a team in contention and you trade for prospects like this. It makes it hard because you don't know what's going to happen with these prospects. And you did get a good pitcher out of this, there's no doubt. I did not get a chance to look at Davies' contract, see what's locked up on him, what he signed through or anything like that. I didn't get a chance to do that. But the Padres are getting Yu Darvish back, and he's signed through 2023. And they got Blake Snell yesterday, like you were saying. He's also signed through 2023. Man, the Padres are legit, David. They've got to be one of the favorites. And like you said, if they shore up that bullpen, they're going to have very, very, very few things that you look at them and say they got holes, and they really don't if they get the bullpen. So it's crazy, man, no doubt. What do you think about the Padres rotation?
Yeah, they're set for way down the line. So next year's rotation will have Clevenger in it, along with the guys you just named. So Paddock, Clevenger, Snell, Yu Darvish, and potentially Mackenzie Gore. Wow. I mean, that's just amazing. And I think the Dodgers are a real. I mean, the Padres are a real threat to the Dodgers. They're set to do this long term. Tatis is there for at least 4 more years at a minimum. I'm sure they're going to try to lock him up. They got Machado locked up. They just signed the Korean second baseman today. His name's going to slip me, but I think he was the KBO MVP, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Good hitter, a good second baseman, which was a big hole for them. So man, they're really set. They're going to be an interesting and a fun. They were already a fun team to watch, and now it's just got that much more interesting.
Yeah, we just talked about Jurickson Profar was their second baseman, and nothing against Profar, but I really believe that they needed an upgrade there at second base, and they did it today. By signing Korean MVP, man, they're not silent, man, and they're going for it, and this is definitely a shell shocker. So, before this trade happened, I was looking through this stuff, and we were talking about a little bit about getting Mackenzie Gore. But like you said, David, if he comes up next year or the following year, I'm not sure what his track is on. Is it this year or next year? I'm not too sure. But with Clevenger and Lamet, man, these guys are just loaded. So they kept him. And now with the Cubs, you kind of look at it from this perspective. So you got rid of Yu Darvish. So Kyle Hendricks automatically becomes your number 1 now. Adbert Alzolay is like your 2-3 guy. Braylon Marquez, who came up at the last game of last year, throwing over 100 from the left side. I don't think he's quite ready yet, but I think that they're relying heavily on him to be a rotation guy. You got Alec Mills, who came up and pitched really well last year. And then now you got Zach Davies as your guy, and that was the one hole I wasn't sure of who was going to be the 5th guy, not necessarily 5th in the order, but your 5th guy to your 5-man rotation. And it looks like Zach Davies is there right now. So those 5 guys are like your frontliners for your rotation right now if you had to go into camp. And I just don't see, unless they want to give Marquez a shot, those other 4 are probably in the rotation. Marquez is the one guy I'm questioning if they're going to go get somebody else or if he's going to be the guy. But, man, you go from having a 1-2 of Darvish and Hendricks to kind of relying on prospects here and Zach Davies. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be tough. There's no doubt. The Cubs have taken it on the chin here. And we talked about this. We knew it was coming. We really did. And just from the beginning, though, we just never thought it would be Yu Darvish, and it was him. And, Cubs fans, you got to remember something, too. And, David, we talked about this as well. And in 2019, Yu was not a good pitcher. And basically, Cubs fans were calling for him to be thrown out for a bag of baseballs and some seeds, man. It was that bad. So he was mentally destroyed from the World Series when Houston just annihilated him. He could not recover from that. He had a really hard time recovering from that. And we found out, obviously, why Houston did that and messed with him big time. And he finally got on track in 2020 and pitched awesome and had like 6 or 7 pitches that he could throw for strikes. And he didn't throw that many fastballs. It was unbelievable how many pitches he threw. He was awesome. He's got 3 more years of control for the Padres. They made a great trade. We'll see. We'll see what happens when the dust settles on the Cubs, if there's more moves to come. But pretty much a shocker, man. This is raw emotion right here from it just happened. So we're all kind of like caught off guard by this. So a couple other minor moves that the Cubs made, and there's one of them I want to talk to you about in a minute here, David, because you'll probably have a better feel for this guy that I talk about here. But the first one was Phillip Ervin. Okay, we signed him a few days ago. He's a 28-year-old outfielder with 4 years of MLB service with the Reds. His best season was 2018 when he had 7 bombs, 31 ribbies, and a 252 average, 324 on base. The Cubs now have 3 outfielders on their 40-man roster, so he's the 3rd guy. That's another move, David. Phillip Ervin is starting for us on opening day. We're in trouble. So I know for a fact that he's a bench guy at best. And if he makes a 25-man roster, I'd be very surprised. So I don't know. He's not really that good. I'm just being honest. I'm not sure how he's hanging on by a thread for staying in the majors. He does have one cool stat. He owns single game record for the Cincinnati Reds with 6 hits in a game. That's pretty cool. He has played 115 games in left field, 74 in right, and 45 in center. So he's versatile defensively, which is also good. But we'll see. We'll see if he makes the roster or if other moves force him to get cut. I'm not sure. This might just be a guy that they're signing for now to see if they can get something else. We'll see if he's in camp and if he ends up sticking or not. But the other guy we signed this week, David, is Jonathan Holder, okay, to bolster the bullpen a little bit. You have any thoughts on Holder, David?
Yeah. Holder came up in the Yankee system, hard thrower. He's had glimpses of success here and there, but he's definitely a back into the bullpen, meaning your 6th or 7th bullpen guy. But, he's had his moments. The Yankees relied on him pretty heavily year before last, I believe it was. They were just kind of out of guys, and he came up and pitched some important innings. He's just not somebody – they've tried him in that role as a setup guy. He's not somebody you want there. But, for what they got him for, which is probably a little bit of nothing, he could pitch you some innings. Like I said, he's got a good fastball. Maybe they could figure out something to adjust here or there. Yankees have been real successful with developing bullpen guys. And so, I wouldn't sleep on him. Is he going to be a setup man? No. But could he eat up some middle innings? Sure.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I didn't know too much about him. He's a lifelong Yankee. He's 10-6 in his career from 2016 to 2020. All with the Yankees. Like you said, he came up with them. 438 career RA, 165 Ks and 176 innings. So he's close to a 1K per inning guy. 27 years old, so take a shot on him, and we'll see what happens. You can always use arms in the bullpen, that's for sure. And if you got somebody who's done it with the Yankees, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So the Yankees trust him. He's probably been pretty good over the years, so we'll see how that one pans out. So the Cubs did make 2 little minor moves this week to kind of bolster the outfield a little bit and the bullpen, but man, nothing obviously tops what they did today, and still spinning a little bit here. And
I wanted to make a point that actually Jim Bowden made today on MLB, and this might comfort Cubs fans a little bit. Jim Bowden was saying today that this year starting pitching is going to be less important than it's ever been, for the simple fact that some of these teams are going to have to go to 6-man rotations even, because these guys aren't going to be as built up as they were. Yu Darvish wasn't going to pitch 200 innings this year. And so to pay $20 million, $22 million for a guy that's probably only going to pitch 4 or 5 innings a start, it becomes a little less important to you. You know what I mean? They got Davies, who is not that much worse than Darvish or wasn't last year. And so if it's any comfort, to Cubs fans, that's probably a lot of the reason this trade got made. Like I said, he's not going to be able to pitch, maybe 150 innings. Is it going to make a dent in this year's team? Sure. Is it going to cost you more than a couple wins? Maybe not. You know what I mean? And that's if Darvish is able to hold up.
Yeah, which Yu Darvish are they going to get? Really, you just don't really know. It's kind of interesting. Are you going to get the Cy Young Award winner from this year? Are you going to get the bad one from 19? It's just kind of up in the air as to honestly what you're going to do. So, big trade. We'll see what happens this week with the Cubs if they go on and make some more moves, or in the next few weeks as well. I don't really know. I haven't heard too much as far as anybody else getting moved or signed or anything like that. Most of the focus has been on Yu Darvish, and that one went down today. So we'll kind of see with our next podcast if anything starts to bubble up from the Cubs standpoint, or if they sign anybody. We'll get back to that and talk about that next week as well. So, David, how about your little Yankees update from this week? What's going on in the New York world?
So the Yankees are just in a stare down with DJ LeMahieu at this point. I told you before, I'm not so sure that they shouldn't just call his bluff and move on, but it's kind of like you guys with Darvish. LeMahieu was such a big part and has been such a big part of what they had going on. He's their best hitter. I mean, you can't argue. He's their best hitter. He's the guy you want up in the clutch, but it's kind of like Darvish, man. Are you willing to pay premium dollars for his age 36 and age 37 years, which is what he wants? And I don't blame him for that. So it's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. The rumor is they've offered him, I believe it was 4 years at $75 million. He turned it down. He's wanting that 5th year. And so, again, the 5th year would take him into his age either 37 or 38 year. I'm not sure that's going to be worth the money. The only other news out of the Yankees this week, there was an article that came out today. I shared it with you, DJ, regarding Gary Sanchez. And I've made it pretty well known what my feelings are on Sanchez. He's probably a super nice guy, but I'm kind of fed up with it. I don't really think he's cut out for New York. He would probably go to a lower pressure place and hit 40 bombs and everybody would be happier. But he made the comment that he didn't know why they hadn't communicated to him why he wasn't playing in the playoffs. And DJ, as you know, that just drives me crazy. I think he played in one playoff game. He struck out in all 3 at-bats. He hit 150 for the year. So, DJ, as a manager, do you feel like you would owe it to Gary Sanchez to explain to him why he's not playing in the playoffs?
I don't get it, David. I mean, I don't know why you feel like you have to play when you batted 150 and your defense was awful. Like, how can you keep running a guy like that out there every day? I don't care what you did last year or the year before or how much money you're making. It doesn't matter. It's to a point where, it's just like you got to be that guy who is a team player and says, you know what, I'm not getting the job done. And, shut your mouth. You're batting 150. But, these guys and their egos, I swear. And it's really laughable when you think about it. You actually, say it out loud. Gary Sanchez is complaining about not playing in the playoffs when he batted 150. Right. When you say it out loud, that sounds pretty dumb. The comment
that he made was, he made the comment that his bats were getting better. And, DJ, to be honest with you, after I thought about it, I sympathize with him a little bit, just to be honest with you. So, we know my senior year, I started playing a little bit of second base. Be honest with you, I had a great fall. Hit well. But I got sick spring of our senior year. I got the flu. And I missed pretty much our first 2 weeks of the season. To be honest with you, physically, it knocked me on my butt. And long story short, we went through part of the season. I couldn't get it together, man. And so it started happening, other guys started playing. And basically, I just kind of had to own it. Like, hey, if I want to be in the lineup, I got to start doing something different. And, it was a short season. I just couldn't get it turned around or whatever. But at some point, you have to be just honest with yourself and say, okay, it's me. I'm the problem. And move on from it. And so this kind of stuff with Gary Sanchez, man, it drives me insane. I can't take it. It would be different if he was great on defense and all that, but he led the league, I think, in pass balls. Your best pitchers don't want to pitch to him. Shut up, man. Like I said, I kind of wished the Yankees would have non-tendered him, but, they didn't, and it looks like they're going to try to stick it out. And in a way, I don't blame him. The guy hit 34 home runs 2 years ago. The best hitting catcher in the league when he's on. But I'm over the charade. But that's kind of it for Yankee news right now. Everything's just kind of in a holding pattern until DJ LeMahieu gets settled.
I got one question for you on that specific point, David. So you were talking about DJ with the 5th year. Are you letting DJ LeMahieu walk because you won't give him the 5th year when you're offering 4? Are you really going to do that to DJ LeMahieu, who is currently one of, if not the best hitter in the game, as far as batting average and all, hitting to opposite field, just a great hitter. Are you going to let him walk because you won't get him that 5th year? Is that really going to be what keeps him from being a Yankee in the next 4 years?
Well, the Yankees are in a really tough spot, man. So I guess it depends. It depends on how much you believe in guys like Aaron Judge. You can't keep everybody. Everybody can't make $25 million a year, even on the Yankees. And so are you going to throw all your eggs in DJ's basket and let a guy like Gleyber Torres walk in a couple years? Or Are you going to kind of hold the line on DJ LeMahieu and try your best to keep guys like Glaber and Aaron Judge? I'm really conflicted, man, just to be honest with you. I'm super conflicted about it. Part of me says let him walk, use that money to sign pitching. That's where the problem is. And then the other side of me just remembers all the clutch hits that he's had. Like I said, if you're asking me, and if you believe that the Yankees have to trim payroll, I think you have to let him walk personally. They don't have enough pitching, DJ. And if they need that $20 million, they need to spend it on pitching. That's what I believe. If you believe the Yankees are going to hold the line on the money.
It's interesting, you know.
So they're in an interesting spot.
They are. Yep, I agree.
So, DJ, we had several other things happen this week. We had some awards handed out, and I'm going to be honest with you, DJ. When you sent me what we were going to talk about today, I've never heard. I didn't even know what the Ford Frick Award was. So you're going to have to explain this to me a little bit.
All right, you got it. So the Ford Frick Award is a yearly announcement of the Hall of Fame announcer that's going to go in for every season. So every year there's one guy who is an announcer from the game of baseball that wins this award and is automatically granted a Hall of Famer. It's been going on for a long time. You think about the Ford Frick winners of the past. Vin Scully, to me, is the greatest announcer of all time. When you think of Ford Frick, you think of Vin Scully. I wish it was named after him instead, but I get it. You know, this is a cool award. It's really cool because it kind of kicks off the Hall of Fame season. You know, they first let in an announcer, and then they start going with the other stuff that kind of builds up to it. So this year we will see Al Michaels in baseball's Hall of Fame. And David, man, this guy. A lot of people out there, if you're probably 30 years old and under, you probably never have seen him do any baseball games. And you know, a lot of people know him as a football announcer, which I get. That's what he is now, and that's what he's done tremendous job of over the years. To be honest with you, he's one of, if not the best football announcer I think that there is too. Just fantastic. He's also known for the call, "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes, in the 1980 Olympics when the United States beat Russia. That was his call on that. That has lived in infamy. One of the greatest calls in sports history. He was a baseball announcer for a very long time. And David, the one thing I think I remember, and I was a kid, we were kids when he was announcing baseball, so it's not as fresh in our minds as his football stuff is. But the 1989 World Series kind of sticks out to me that he did that. He was a play-by-play guy in the 89 World Series between the Giants and the A's. And if you remember, David, that was the earthquake series where the game had just started. They were talking, Michaels was talking, and the whole camera shook, and they were losing every connection they had. And I believe it was Michaels that said, "I believe we just had an earthquake." And he just kind of came back to the TVs kind of came back, and everybody was just in shock. And it was crazy. It was postponed for a long time there, and then they finally got it in. And you know, it was really kind of surreal there for a while. As it was the year the A's actually defeated the Giants and won the World Series, and after losing in '88 to the Dodgers and losing the '90 series the following year to the Reds. So it was the one shot the Bash brothers got to win the World Series, and they got it in '89 there. And Michaels was on the call. He did a great job explaining what was going on there during the earthquake. When they came back to baseball, he made everybody feel so much better about everything that was going on. It was a calming, definite interview that he gave before the game started to resume the World Series. Just a great announcer, man. And even when I seen him talking when he won the award, you know, just a humble guy. Seems like a great guy. He would have a ton of stories. He did a lot of the Big Red Machine games when they were in the 70s there, when they were just dominating. And what a great voice. He definitely deserved it. And David, I think we can both agree on this one. At least Al Michaels won it and Joe Buck did not.
Come on, man. Joe Buck has won this award, correct?
Joe Buck has not. His dad won the award. His dad is a Hall of Famer, but Joe Buck was one of the finalists with Al Michaels, and he did not win it this year. So He will not go into the Hall of Fame.
DJ, I wrote down some notes regarding this award. I don't ever remember watching a baseball game that Al Michaels did. And so I'm glad that you reminded me of that. If it was Al Michaels versus Joe Buck should have been the guy. And I love Al Michaels. But Joe Buck has called like every World Series since the late 90s or something. It's got to be Joe Buck. That's crazy. Other guys on the list were Dave Campbell, who I really like. He's done ESPN games for years. Dan Shulman, I also really like. And there were some other guys on here that were from years and years and years ago. So it's pretty interesting. I did not realize that Joe Buck was on there, and I do think that's crazy that he didn't win, just to be honest with you.
You're killing me. You are like in the 1 percentile of guys who like listening to Joe Buck do a baseball game.
Well, I don't mind Joe Buck's baseball games. And like I said, I mean, I have way more memories with Joe Buck than I ever have with Al Michaels. I can't remember one game that Al Michaels has ever done. I can't remember it. And so, like I said, whatever. I like Al Michaels, so I'm not going to get too mad at that. And I've never heard of that award until you mentioned it. So what about, DJ, the Hank Aaron Award winners? You got any argument with my boy, Jose Abreu, and Freddie Freeman?
Well, when we were going over this, I just wanted to mention Freddie Freeman's unbelievable stats again. 13 bombs, 341 average. He was the MVP in the National League, 73 hits in 60 games, league leading 51 runs and 23 doubles, a 462 on base, and great defense at first base. And also the all MLB first baseman over Jose Abreu. Jose Abreu won in the American League. You can go ahead and say something about him if you want to, but I'd give Freddie Freeman his love on that award. He did an outstanding job this year.
Jose Abreu is better at every single thing than Freddie Freeman other than defense. I'll just leave it there. I think Jose Abreu is the man. No argument with either guy. I really like Freddie Freeman too. I actually like Freddie Freeman, the person, a lot better. I actually watched some videos today about him, and he just seems like a really cool guy, the guy that you like to hang out with. And I really, like we talked about before, I really respect Abreu where he's come from. You know, he came from a tough life, and it's cool that he's made it, and it's cool that he's going to be in the World Series this year.
So David, right, I gotta ask you something on this one. So, okay. First off, to all the viewers out there, like David was saying, look up the video of Freddie Freeman trick-or-treating, and there's a kid that has his jersey on, and Freddie Freeman asks the kid, "Hey, are you me?" And then the kid's just like in total shock that it's actually Freddie Freeman saying, "Hey, are you me?" Pretty cool. And but David, Hank Aaron, who this award is named after, I mean, obviously, in our opinion, he's the all-time home run hitter. And he also, David, if you didn't know this, is the #1 guy in RBI in his career. That's a fantastic stat to have. The most runs batted in an entire career belongs to Hank Aaron. So great hitter, obviously. Not only to hit bombs, but he drove runs in, which is what it's all about. So that's the man that this award's named after. Freddie Freeman totally deserved it. The other guy, whatever. But
DJ, last award is the Clemente Award, which goes to the I had it written down here somewhere what the qualifications were, but it's basically for guys giving back to the community. And Adam Wainwright won. And I told you, I may have come up at a podcast at some point, I would love to see Adam Wainwright in pinstripes for a lot of reasons, but stuff like this is a lot of it too. He's been nominated 5 times for this award, DJ. He co-founded the Big League Impact with his brother. They've raised $5.8 million for various causes. The main one is clean water, a clean water project in Africa. They've raised money for education, food insecurity in Haiti, in America with the coronavirus. Just seems like a really good guy, man. Again, I enjoyed reading up on him. If you're nominated 5 times for this award, you know, you're committed to doing things like this. So what do you think, DJ? Adam Wainwright for the Clemente Award.
Yeah, I mean, what What a great! I was reading a lot about the things he does too, and if you're giving food to people who are in need, that's amazing. And the person that this award is named after, Roberto Clemente, died in a plane crash to Nicaragua to give supplies to those guys. So he was the humanitarian that went and did things like this. Did not want the publicity, just wanted to help people with his, with his wealth. And what an amazing thing. And Wainwright, man, I'm telling you, like, this isn't the only thing he does. He does so many different events with food for people who need that. Him and his wife do a lot around the community in St. Louis as well. And David, I know you want him in pinstripes. I understand that. However, this leads me to my next point. Adam Wainwright is going nowhere, and neither is Yadi Molina. I do not believe it. Like, I don't have any inside information on that at all, but I really believe that the Cardinals will sign Yadi and Wainwright, and they will end their careers with the Cardinals. Wainwright's pitched with them since 2005. He's a lifetime Cardinal pitcher. I just don't see him leaving. He's 167 and 98 in his career with a 3.38 ERA, and he's never won 20 games in a single season. Isn't that crazy, David? Never done it. So he led the league twice with 19 wins, which is right on the doorstep of it. But I just don't see it, man. I know he's up there. I can't remember. I think he's 37, if I'm not mistaken. So you give him a year or two at the Cardinals, and I really believe he's going to end his career there. What do you think?
Yeah, I want to believe that, to be honest with you. I love when guys stay around. But talking about your Cubs, DJ, they still need someone in that rotation. Wainwright's going to want to play for a contender. How would you feel about a team like the Cubs signing him for 1 year at $10 million?
Ooh, you're putting me in a tough spot here with wanting a Cardinal like that who's been shoving it to us since 2005. So this is almost like if you were to tell me, hey, how would you like to have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback? It's almost the exact same thing, because if you get Aaron Rodgers or Adam Wainwright, you're going to get better. But man, trading sides like that's tough, especially when you've been rooting against a guy really hard for 15 years. It'd be really weird to see him in a Cubs uniform, kind of like when Jim Edmonds came over and played with the Cubs. It was really, really awkward and hard to root for Jim Edmonds running around center field at Wrigley Field in Cubby blue. That was weird and very hard for me. I tell you that right now.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I could see Wainwright, he's from Atlanta. I could see him, hooking up with the Braves or somebody like that. But best case scenario, to be honest, would be Wainwright and Molina back to the Cardinals. But I'm telling you, man, money is so tight, and prospects are more important now than they've ever been that I can ever remember. And so could I see the Cardinals, again, with the coronavirus still hanging over us, stonewalling a little bit and saying, hey, this is what we're going to pay you, and then finding a better deal? Yeah, I could see it. It's just going to depend on how loyal they want to be to the Cardinals. The Yankees played this game with Derek Jeter there towards the end of his career, and he ended up signing. But to be honest with you, there was hard feelings over it. And so, it just depends on how much hardball they want to play in their financial situation. DJ, I did leave a couple awards off. Edgar Martinez Award. And I got to ask you something, DJ. Are we going to have the Mike Venafro left-handed reliever award and the Jeff Nelson right-handed reliever award and the long man award with Ramiro Mendoza? I mean, when does this stop? The utility player award, the best bench bat award.
Wow.
The assistant manager award, the best third base coach award. I mean, I had to look up some of this stuff. What's your opinion on that?
My opinion is they named it after the greatest designated hitter of all time. So there's that, who's an easy Hall of Famer. And I obviously see
David Ortiz, the best designated hitter of all time. It's not even close. Nope. David Ortiz is the best designated hitter of all time.
Marcelo Ozuna hit a pretty good designated hitter role this year for sure. Should have got more love for the MVP. We've talked about this. 338 batting average, 18 bombs, 56 ribbies.
Yep.
Both led the league in a 431 on base percentage. This was a no-brainer. Nelson Cruz probably was second in that. He's up there too, but nobody came close to what Ozuna did numbers-wise. Even Freddie Freeman, you can make a case on that one too. So he totally deserved it. But I really mainly wanted you to know that award is out there. And it is named after the man, Edgar Martinez. Oh, yeah.
That should be the David Ortiz Award. That's all I'm going to say about that. Last but not least on the awards, Comeback Player of the Year. So Josh Bard and Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez, no-brainer. Had to sit out last year due to Tommy John. Comes back. I mean, DJ, was he the best catcher in both leagues?
I think he totally was. He had the best season by far, 333 batting average. He hosed. He was out all of last season. He was fantastic, man. And I think we've talked about this many times. We looked around in August and we're like, oh my goodness, look at Salvador Perez. He's leading the league in hitting and he's up there and everything. Yeah. And what an outstanding year for him, and to come back off that injury and play the way he did, man, was unbelievable for sure. And he totally deserved the American League. It wasn't even close. He was the all MLB catcher too, so hand it to him, man. That's tough to come back from, and he did a great job, no doubt.
Yep. So Josh Bard won it in the National League. What a story, DJ. Out of baseball since 2013. Out of the major league since 2013. He spent some time in the minors. He comes back as I guess a coach is what you would call it, for a couple years. And I guess he was with Arizona. Finds out he's still got it. I guess he had the yips. And DJ comes back and 3.65 ERA, 6 saves in Colorado. If you got an ERA under 4 in Colorado, you've had a pretty good season. So what do you think about Josh Bard, NL Comeback Player of the Year?
Well deserved, man. This is, like you said, a great story, and we've seen a few guys who have gotten the cases of the yips in our careers, in college a little bit there, and I've had a few kids go through it when I was coaching as well. And David, it's not good, man. It's almost painful to watch when somebody's going through something like this, especially from the pitcher standpoint. We saw this probably to the highest extent with Rick Ankiel, who actually came back as a position player, which is unbelievable. Still blows my mind that he was able to do that and hit as well as he did after getting the yips and not being able to pitch anymore. But Bard, man, you got to hand it to him. That is so hard to come back from. It's so weird because it almost feels like your mental and your physical cannot connect for whatever reason. You can't put the two together, and you throw the ball super high or you throw the ball super wild. And it's with these major league pitchers, man, this is what they do. This is like, for me and you, like riding a bike. And these guys just pitch every day in the majors, and that's their job. And so it's so easy to them. And when it's not working all of a sudden and it's broke and nobody can help you, and that's where he was. No pitching coach could get him back on track. And it seems to be the case when you get the yips. Nobody can really help you out of it. It's kind of like you're stuck. Nothing really works. You're mentally destroyed. It's very, very, very rough to come back from, and I'm real happy. What a cool story that he came back from him. Like you said, man, kept his ERA under 4 in Colorado. Wow. So good on him, man. He was a big prospect for the Red Sox for a long time and had a good start to his career and just hit a huge wall. And hopefully, man, he can come back and have a couple more years after this year to jump on this as well. One more thing I wanted to mention too about this award, David. I don't know who said it or where I heard it from, but they're talking about, next year's comeback awards are going to be, the guys who sat out for the coronavirus. No, you opted out. You're not a comeback player of the year. Sorry. However, man, there's a guy in Baltimore who already won this award for next year, and that's Trey Mancini, man. For all you guys out there, this is an outstanding story. 3-month checkup went great, David. They said everything's looking good with his vitals. He's got stage 3 colon cancer. So everything's going well. I wish him nothing but the best that he comes back and plays this year. Hopefully he can. If he does, he's automatically just won that award, in my opinion, no doubt. He's the best Baltimore Oriole there is. He's their best player. It's just awesome, and his fiance or his girlfriend, I can't remember which one she is, to him, but she tweeted out that he beat it. Everything looks good as far as his checkup goes. So hopefully he can just progress from here and win that award next year. We're definitely rooting for him to win that award next year, no doubt.
Yep. And DJ, something I want to throw in here. Another thing that I know we're both rooting for is we're rooting for a comeback from Jason Stiltner.
Yep.
Jason, I don't know if you're going to get to watch the episode or not, but buddy, we've been praying for you. Had a tough accident, and of all the guys that I know, and I mean this seriously, I have no doubt that Jason Stiltner will come back from this. So y'all keep Jason in your prayers. Like I said, had an accident and messed up his hand. He's had surgeries and all that, and but keep him in your prayers, man. Just a great guy, and like I said, I have no doubt he's going to come back stronger. DJ, so we had a couple signings in the past week we need to talk about. Real interesting, to be honest with you. So Carlos Santana to the Royals. Dayton Moore says the Royals are going to try to compete. I like this signing. I like it a lot, to be honest with you. What do you think about Carlos Santana to the Royals?
David, I think it is a great move, and I talked on our Royals preview a lot about how I was thinking this team is definitely on the upside, and in 2021 or 2022, they're going to make a lot of noise. This was a great signing to come hit in the middle of this order for them guys. They needed this. 240 career homers, 796 career RBI, 2010 to 2020, all with the Indians. I believe he went to the Phillies for a cup of coffee and then came back to the Indians. He's been an all-star. He's 9 times over 70 ribbies in a season, and he's 7 times over 20 homers in a season. This guy's no slouch. He can mash. I'm telling you, David, you got those White Sox penciled in at the top, or maybe putting pen now at the top of that Central Division. I'm not so sure the Royals are going for you, bud. They're getting closer and closer to being a team that could, in a couple more moves, contend for the division. Yes, sir. You heard it here first, buddy.
I'll give you that in a couple years, the Royals might contend for division. Maybe. I don't even know. The White Sox are that much better, but I do think this was a good move. Now you got Santana, Merrifield, Hunter Dozier is in there. Now they say they're going to move him to third. They let Maikel Franco go. They got Salvador Perez catching. But, DJ, can you name any of their outfielders? You can't do it, DJ. Alex Gordon is gone. They did sign Michael Taylor this week as well. I guess that's their center fielder.
Michael A. Taylor, buddy. Nicky Lopez. I got to give Nicky Lopez a little love. Nicky Lopez played high school ball about 15 miles away from here. He's their second baseman. David, come on, man. Get on the love train with the Royals, buddy. Get on it. It's coming, man. Mike Minor was a great signing. These guys are aiming for it, man. They're going.
Yeah, they're a couple years away, maybe a year. It won't happen this year. The other signing this week, David Dahl, sneaky by the Rangers. He's signed for $2.7 million, DJ. Still only 26 years old. He's had some great seasons, but he can't seem to stay healthy. But I thought this was a great move. I think this was Chris Young's first move as GM, if I'm not mistaken. I think this was super smart. What do you think about David Dahl in Texas?
So I like it. The one thing I don't like is Texas just has everybody that can strike out at a high rate. And David Dahl does that so far in his career. About 1 out of 4 he strikes out. So he fits right in with the Rangers, to be honest with you, from that perspective. But no, I mean, David Dahl is a good player, and this is a good signing for Texas. It really is. I would definitely take a waiver on him. You know what, David? Here's my thoughts on him as well. Like a contending team, I don't think the Rangers are going to be contenders by any means. So he's probably going to start for the Rangers. But his average 162 game average season is 23 homers, 87 ribbies, and a 286 batting average, David. That's pretty good. That's pretty solid for a 162 average. If he stays on the field, that's what he's going to give you. So there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Those are good numbers. I was thinking, David, I really was, that a contender would sign him and kind of either use him as their starting outfielder or maybe their fourth guy. You know what I mean? Like, he could be that guy that if you put him in and start and he's starting to hit the ball and he plays well, you keep him there. But if he kind of falls back, maybe you'll have somebody else step in there and take that role from him. But it's a good signing by the Rangers, no doubt. You talked about the White Sox that should have got him and stashed him in their rotation there in the outfield. And Rangers made a good move here. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of teams could have used him. And really, Dahl probably went with the opportunity to play. And I can't blame him for that. Texas, they're in that new stadium. They're not going to be very good, so he's going to get all the at-bats he wants or needs, and so maybe he can kind of rebuild his value. Very smart move by the Rangers. The Phillies, DJ, they signed a legend, Dave Dombrowski, coming back to the Phillies. What do you think about this, DJ? You know how I feel about this. They'll probably win the World Series in 2 years, but in 4, they're going to have all these bloated contracts and won't be able to get rid of any of them and be in last place. So he's won World Series in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, Detroit, and Boston, right? So what do you think about Dave Dombrowski?
You got it. So, yeah, he didn't win it in Detroit. They were in the World Series and they lost it, but he has won it, and like you said, in Florida and Boston for sure. I just think you're really upset at him because he won a World Series with the Red Sox and he was at the helm of that, and I think you were mad about that. So I think that's why you kind of hate Dombrowski so much is he finally brought the Red Sox to a World Series title. So I think that's where the hate relies with him. But David.
Well, DJ, am I wrong that he ruined Detroit? And look at Boston. They had to trade Mookie Betts and the whole point of it was to get rid of David Price.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. So it all comes down to, I guess, what are you willing to do to win the World Series? Are you willing to win it and then sacrifice everything afterwards? Hey, in Florida, you 100% have to do that. That's a move you got to do. And we saw that throughout the years with them. They have to do this in Florida. So what he did there is awesome. Maybe not so much in Boston, obviously. He did kind of put them in a bad spot with trading the best player in the world right now for basically nothing, really. I mean, you got something back, but not enough for Mookie Betts. And, yeah, he did do that. I will give you that. However, David, I really believe that the Phillies were in a bad spot 2 weeks ago. And with signing Dombrowski and Sam Fuld as a GM, who came up through the Cubs system and started his first 3 years there with the Cubs as a player, he was just one of those guys that's scrappy, good player, nothing great as far as his career and his offense or anything like that. But he was kind of surprising, Dave, because Sam Fuld was up for some managerial spots. And then all of a sudden he becomes a general manager. So this kind of took me by surprise a little bit. But the Phillies made 2 big moves here, David. And Sam Fuld's number one job is that historically awful bullpen this year for the Phillies. The worst bullpen in the majors and historically one of the worst ever, David, if we're being honest. Statistically, it's one of the worst. And he's got his hands full with that bullpen right now. But they're at a crossing roads, and I think we talked 3 weeks ago about JT, and no shot of going back to the Phillies with the way they were looking. But I'm not so sure anymore with these 2 signings if they don't sneak in here and get JT now because they did this. What do you think about that?
Where else would JT really go? Let's be honest. You start checking off the teams, and then the list gets smaller and smaller. The Mets were the biggest competitor. They've shored it up with James McCann now. I guess maybe the Nationals might be a player there, but there's not a whole lot of teams that need a catcher right now. So I think the Phillies are definitely going to end up with Real Muto. And like you said, the Phillies have been in win now mode for a while. If you're in that mode, Dave Dombrowski's your guy. So I can't hate on it too bad. I think he'll probably make them better in the short term and make them a lot worse in the long term. But I can't blame him. Sam Fuld, I think that's probably a good hire. He was in their organization as the analytics guy. He seems to be a smart guy, graduated from Stanford. So I can't argue with that either. The Phillies, they're interesting because they do have some money. I like Girardi. The fact that their bullpen was so bad last year with Girardi at the helm is shocking. He's one of the best at managing the bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see what the Phillies do. Very interesting hire with Dombrowski. I don't know where else you go if you want to win now, to be honest with you.
That's true. I mean, everywhere he goes, he does win. You do have to give him that. So the Phillies need this, man. Their fan base is pretty rough there, man. They don't have any patience whatsoever, especially since they signed all these big guys to huge contracts. They're in a win now mode, kind of, so to speak, and they've got a lot of work to do, but they're not that far away. So it's very possible that they could be contenders if they do the right things here coming up really quick. And there's a ton of free agents out there still, so they got to get – Sam Foles got his hands full, but he can make them contenders, no doubt, in 2021 for sure.
Absolutely. So, DJ, we live in the age of political correctness, and these next two topics are probably going to be the most divisive thing we've ever talked about. We've avoided subjects like this up to this point, but it's become national news, and it's kind of unavoidable now. So DJ, the Cleveland Indians, they've decided to change their name. What do you think about the move to move on from the Cleveland Indians name?
So this is tough, obviously. Something we try, like you said, we try to avoid with this kind of stuff. I believe that Cleveland came up as like the Spiders or something like that back in the 1800s. Some names kind of close to that, if not exactly the Spiders, and then turned into the Indians. I don't know, David. I really don't know what to think about this, honestly, to be truthful with you. They're historically known as the Cleveland Indians, and you're basically just rewriting history and making them another team name, and you're going to go on. I don't know. I've heard the argument from both sides. Like, the Tampa Rays used to be the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Now they're just the Tampa Bay Rays. Was that a big deal? I don't know. I mean, is it more so because Cleveland Indians have been around for so long and they've always had that name? And I think 2 years ago they got rid of Chief Wahoo altogether, just threw him out and went with the C's on their hats and everything and all their memorabilia. And completely got rid of him. So you kind of saw that this was coming. You really saw that they were getting rid of that, and they're moving on from the name. And, David, I'm not sure, man. This kind of leads me, I guess what I want to really talk about mainly with this is now, there's a lot of high school teams that have Indians for their mascot. That, our rival in high school was the Indians. I mean, are these teams going to be doing this too, like these high schools, or is this something that just was in the pros and just pick on the Redskins and the Indians? And I don't know, is the Chicago Blackhawks next? For our hockey team here, where does this stop? Does it keep going, or I just don't know, man. I really don't know what's happening here, what's going on. I don't know if Indians are truly offended by this or not, or if it's known to be something that's supposed to be a good thing towards their heritage. I don't know, man. This is a tough one. I've been kind of thinking about what to say about this all day long, and I'm just kind of going with the route of, is this going to stop, or is this going to keep going? Are people going to change their names? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think it's going to stop. I think, obviously neither me or you are Indians. I have Indian heritage, believe it or not, as white as I am. I have my grandfather was his mother was full-blooded Cherokee. If I'm an Indian. I have Indian heritage. I don't like this, to be honest with you. DJ, I don't think the average person in any way, shape, or form meant that to be racist, thought it was racist, thought it was a slam on Indians. In fact, a lot of people, Indian people, I think were proud to have that as their heritage. But to answer your question previously, I don't think this is going to stop. We've already lost the Redskins, like you said, the Blackhawks. There's just tons of teams with Indian references. It's cool to see, like with Florida State, to see the Seminole tribe stand up and say, no, we're proud of that. But having said all that, DJ, it's obviously offensive to some people. It was a story every year. And so at some point, as the Indians organization, you just have to say, okay, when's enough? This has become a distraction. And I really believe the Indians missed out on a huge marketing opportunity right here. I'm a business guy, so I'm always thinking about marketing ideas. And I really think they've screwed this one up. Man, how cool would it have been this first month, this off season, to be able to unveil new uniforms, maybe new colors, new logos. Maybe you have, fans be able to vote on 2 or 3 different options. They pushed this out an entire year, DJ, and I really think that was a big mistake. Like I said, I think all this could have went away. Now we're still going to be talking about this for another year, about how some people think the Indians are racist and there's going to be people protesting it. It would just been the perfect time to rip the Band-Aid off and make a negative a positive, roll out all this new stuff. And so I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand it. You don't want as a team to be offensive to anyone. And I hate this is where we are as a nation. I don't think, again, that most people thought of it as anything racist at all. But, if they're going to change it, I guess why not now?
Yeah, you kind of look at it from the perspective of, like we were saying, is who's next, are the Braves next or the Blackhawks? There's a couple other teams, obviously, in the MLB that are still holding on to names like that. So I don't know, man. I really don't know, I guess, David, what I would like to hear is like the perspective of what I've never really been able to do is sit down with, somebody and why is that offensive to you? You know what I mean? Like just to kind of get their perspective of what they're feeling about when, when somebody says the name Cleveland Indians and why they feel that way. I've never heard anybody, personally say anything bad about that. So I guess I would just like to know where they were coming from and why this happened and everything, just to kind of get the reason why. I just don't really understand it. And, if they feel that it's racist, then so be it. I just kind of want to know why, I guess, is what I'm getting at with that. So to answer the question of what the Cleveland franchise was before the Indians, they were called the Naps back in 1903 to 1914 before they became the Indians in 1915. And actually in 1902, they were called the Bronchos, whatever that means. And then in 1901, their first year, they were the Cleveland Blues. So they've been the Blues, the Bronchos, and the Naps. And so I guess in 1915, they became the Indians up until now. So, Dave, I guess that kind of leads me to my next question is, do you go back to the Naps or the Bronchos or the Blues, or do you completely go something new here to start the franchise back up again?
Yeah, I think you got to go new. I don't even know what a couple of those names even are. Like I said, I think this is marketing gold, to be honest with you, for the Indians. They could really make something big out of this, make it something fun, make some really cool new uniforms, kind of like when the Marlins rebranded here in the last few years. I love their new stuff, to be honest with you, way better than their old stuff. And so it's a great time to reset for them. Again, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I wouldn't want to be offensive to anyone. And for someone that may be watching this and say, well, that's easy for you guys to say, Indians are such a huge part of our heritage. Obviously, you guys are here first. And I just don't see how that's a derogatory term. But like I said, if it has to be done, the sooner the better, I guess. DJ, the second thing that happened this week, so MLB is now recognizing the Negro League stats. And so what do you think about this? I've kind of got mixed feelings on it. Me and you are both big stats guys, when it comes to Hall of Fame and all that. What are your thoughts on MLB recognizing the Negro Leagues?
So a part of me doesn't get it from the standpoint of it wasn't the major leagues. I mean, historically, it just wasn't. I mean,
Right.
that was wrong of them, obviously, to not let black people play in the major leagues. We're both going to agree 100% with that. That was racist to every extent of the imagination, no doubt. And it was
Right.
wrong. It really was. We're not debating that whatsoever. However, historically, it just wasn't. It was not the major leagues, and it was a different league. So a part of me is kind of like, it really wasn't the majors. So why are you now in 2020 making it the major leagues? I don't know. I mean, I guess from the other perspective of this, were a lot of those guys that played in that league, were they major leaguers? Absolutely. There were a lot of guys in that league who would have played pro ball. Probably not all of them. Okay, let's just be honest. They were not all major leaguers by the standards of being good enough to make it in the major leagues. But they will now be known as major leaguers, and this is something that went down this week. And so it is cool for them. It really is. Like, I guess, of the 19,000 players that have played pro ball, they just got a big boost in the numbers for guys who have played professional ball now. So they're going to recognize them as major leaguers, which for their families and everything's got to be really, really cool to see. It really does. So a part of me is mixed on this. I guess you're changing history, which is kind of weird, I guess. I mean, I don't know if you can rewrite history, so to speak, which is just a little different to me, and I'm not really a big fan of that part. But to recognize those guys is cool. And I guess one of the things I went to immediately when I heard this, David, is you kind of go right to Josh Gibson when you talk about this. And man, this guy's already in the Baseball Hall of Fame and well deserved. And so immediately the thought came to my mind, David. He's historically known to have hit over 900 home runs. Like, whether or not that's true or not, I guess we'll find out when they uncover all these box scores, and they've got them all apparently, and they're going to unveil them. And this is going to be a really cool process. I'd actually love to be a part of that process, being a stat nut like I am. But I was wondering right away if he was going to, pass that moron Barry Bonds as the all-time home run king. But as I did some research on this and kind of looked at it, I guess that they only have him at 238 right now. And a big reason for that is when they're going through this, a lot of the games that Gibson was playing in were considered exhibition games. So they weren't really real games, so to speak. I guess you can compare to the MLB guys being in spring training. Like, you wouldn't count those stats. Or if they went overseas and played winter ball or in different leagues in the offseason. I think a lot of that happened in the Negro Leagues to where a lot of their games were exhibition or not in their official season, is when Josh started racking up these home runs in all those games as well. And I guess because if you counted Barry Bonds' spring training homers, he'd probably be over 1,000, just being honest with you. So, I don't know for sure, but it'd be pretty close to that, I'm sure, with adding up a month of baseball every year for his 20-year career, he's going to rack up a lot of home runs there. So I get it. I think it's a really cool process. I would love to see how they do this. It's going to be really interesting to see how these all go in there. And I'm going to love to go to Baseball Reference and check out some of these guys that were not major leaguers and see their stats. And so it's different, man. It really is. Like I said, I've got mixed feelings about this. I really do, from both those perspectives. So what do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really like. I heard they were adding hits to Willie Mays and all that, and like you said, several of these guys are already in the Hall of Fame. I do think it's cool that they're kind of shining a spotlight on it. And one thing I saw that was kind of cool. Now, again, this is one of those things that's a slippery slope. But some of the still living Negro League players are trying to see if they qualify for a major league pension.
Yeah.
And Hey, don't
Really?
blame them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
They feared a lot of stuff, and I don't know if that's an unintended consequence or what, but I think it's pretty cool. You know, MLB healthcare is known to be great, and so I'm like you, DJ. I've got mixed feelings. Those stats aren't the same. I'm sorry. There are some great players that played in the Negro League. There's no doubt in my mind. Josh Gibson was a major leaguer. Satchel Paige obviously showed that he was, you know, great. But these guys are already in the Hall of Fame, I guess is what I'm saying. But I think it's cool that they shine a spotlight on, like you said, digging through some of that old history. It's well known that the record keeping in the Negro Leagues was terrible. And so I just think it's hard to quantify all this stuff. And so I just got mixed feelings. But it's cool. It's cool to shed a spotlight on Negro Leagues. It's definitely a sad time in our history, but also it's cool to look back and see that those guys endured and, you know, still played baseball, the national pastime. And, you know, like I said, it's going to be cool to see all these stats come up. So
David, one of the things, you know, if baseball gets back to fans next year and I get on that little road trip we were going to do this year from Kansas City to Houston to Texas, if you probably can't see on the map here, but in Missouri, the Negro League Baseball Museum is there. So when you go to a Royals game, that's kind of one of the things you have to do. You have to go to that museum and check that out for sure. That would be really cool. And I think it's going to be even more cool now this year if I go to see it. Now that they've been, you know, bumped up to major league status, that's going to really make that really awesome to see. So if you guys as baseball fans ever go to Kansas City, make sure you check that museum out. There's a lot of history there, a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm sure they're just going to make it even more special now with the unveiling of what happened this past week. So definitely something I'm going to check out too. And, you know, I'm going to add it to the list of things I want to do when we go to Kansas City. So very cool indeed. You know, like I said, man, all you really can do is congratulate those guys. I mean, you know, if somebody for some weird reason ever came to me and said, "Hey, you were a major leaguer," and I'm okay. If you want to make me one, sure, I guess. You know, I'm not going to argue with you, I guess, but whether or not it's legit or not, I guess we can debate that till, like, you know, for a long time here. But
yeah,
I guess our opinion doesn't matter. They made it that way, so, you know, pretty cool from one perspective. I'll give it that.
yep. So DJ, last thing, we lost another baseball player this past week, Dick Allen. And so DJ, I texted you right after this because I was hearing a little noise about it. What do you think about Dick Allen's Hall of Fame case, DJ? So short career, really hurt him as far as accumulating stats. Very divisive, and a lot of that not his fault, and I understand that. But 58 wins above replacement, 7-time All-Star. He hit 351 homers in an era when not a lot of guys hit a lot of homers. Several players were quoted, including Goose Gossage, that he was the greatest player of that era. But like I said, he had some injuries. Had a short career. I think he only played 14 seasons. His 162 game average would have been 33 homers, 104 RBIs, and he had a career 292 average. He won Rookie of the Year and an MVP. So what do you think about Dick Allen's Hall of Fame case?
So, man, yeah, this is about as tough as it gets, David. This is about as borderline as you can possibly get, to be honest with you. He stands right on that line. I wish I would have had a chance today to kind of look and see what the writers did to him when he was on the ballot. If I'm not mistaken, he was off of it pretty fast, and that's a shame because he deserved to be on the ballot for as long as he possibly could, and looked at when he was even off that ballot to be a Hall of Famer. And the one thing that is very sad is now that he has passed, if he does eventually get into it, he will never know about it, which is crazy to me. But I'll tell you what, here's the thing. Dick Allen, like you said, not a long career, and I'm not one of those guys who's going to kick somebody out due to them not having longevity. He had a 15-year career with the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, the White Sox for 3 years, back with the Phillies, and then ended with Oakland in his 35 years. So he didn't go in the 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 age like most players do. He ended a little early there. But David, man, when you honestly look at his stats, and I did today pretty in depth, you know how I feel about the 10-year dominance, man. He's kind of the poster child for dominating for 10 years. He really is. Like, you throw out his rookie year where he had a few at bats, you go into his second year in 1964, 30 homers, 90 ribbies, and he just, he bats 318. His batting average is unbelievable. The one year I saw in there that I wasn't sure to put for his 10th season as being a Hall of Famer was his 23 homer, 77 RBI season. But then you look over there and see that he batted 307 and led the league with a 404 on base percentage. So that's definitely a Hall of Fame year if you're number one in on base percentage and you're mashing 77 ribbies. I think he got in, man. 10 years. I really believe he had 10 dominant years in the majors. 351 home runs is no joke. He did not collect stats, so to speak, like some of these guys did. And I think that's what separates him from someone who may have 350 home runs and played 20 years and didn't dominate 10 years like he does. This is where we get into this situation. Like, I don't know. I know I talk about that a lot, but man, I'll tell you what, I really can make a case both ways, I feel, for Dick Allen, man, to have him in and have him out. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. What I would like to see, haven't seen, is a comparison of him and some other maybe Hall of Famers of his era. I would like to see that because if you look at his similarity scores, he's not a Hall of Famer. The 10 guys that they had on Baseball Reference, there's not one guy in the Hall of Fame. But the guys that you're comparing him against played in different eras. And this, again, this is why my steroid era argument, this is it. These guys played in an era where who knows who was on steroids and who wasn't, and they were the elite players of their day. I think they deserve to be in. He played in an era when not a lot of home runs were hit. And so I'd like to see what other guys did in that era. But right now, from what I know, I would tend to put him in.
Yeah, I mean, David, he had over 80 ribbies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And that's just unbelievable, the amount of RBI he produced in such a short time. He mashed a lot of home runs, like you said. And in the dead ball era, that end of the 60s when he was hitting like 65 to 70 era, which is right in the smack middle of his career, was the pitcher's era, man. That mound had to be raised. You had guys like Bob Gibson just dominating the league, and every pitcher it was a pitcher's time. It really was. And for him to put up the stats that he did during those seasons, especially when you look at like the 68, 69, 67 season, he put up 30 home runs and 90 RBI like it was nothing, man. So that's legit. It really is. And there's, when one of my assistant coaches, Brent Kittle, has always been an advocate for him making the Hall of Fame, and he just keeps telling me, Dick Allen not in the Hall of Fame is a shame. And he was a big Harold Baines guy before that, so Harold Baines ended up getting in, and now he's on a big push for Dick Allen, and so we'll see what happens with him. I don't know if there's any way possible if he can get in or not. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen if he's up for the Veterans Committee or if he's already passed that or whatever. I'm not sure on that, but I definitely need to look into this a little more, and maybe when we get into Hall of Fame talk, we can get back into this just a little bit. But he's on the fence, no doubt. And if you were to put him in, I guess from the 10-year dominance standpoint, it makes sense to me for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't argue. There's a lot of players that don't have the stats that he has that are in the Hall of Fame. So, I couldn't argue with Dick Allen being in the Hall of Fame. Well, DJ, another great episode as always. We covered a lot of ground, and I'm looking forward to the next week, man. I think the trades are going to start rolling. We're getting close to Hall of Fame talk. We're getting close to spring training. Only a couple months out for spring training. And so the next couple months should be interesting. Our show next Monday, who do we got on as a guest?
We're working on it, man. We had Josh Hill lined up, and he had to go out of town for, a vacation. I know it's a holiday season. A lot of people are traveling around right now. So we're definitely trying to get a guest for next week because after next Monday, we're going to start getting into Hall of Fame, and I think that just wants to be me and you for those next 3 episodes there. So I'm trying really hard to get somebody on the show. We'll see what we can do, and tune in next week for sure. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yep, sounds good, buddy. Well, you have a good week. Everybody out there have a good week, and we'll see you next Monday.
See you, everybody.